Martial arts and life have a lot in common. Both take a tremendous amount of patience, determination, grit, a strong mindset. And to get either done correctly, you need the right people to listen to. This is Beyond the Mat, the podcast where real talk meets raw insights. Get ready to dive deep into the world of martial arts, coaching, business, and health as we bring you candid conversations with professionals, coaches, authors, and entrepreneurs who are making waves beyond the confines of the dojo. From the adrenaline-fueled arena of combat sports to the boardrooms of successful enterprises, Beyond the Mat is your go-to destination for real and raw discussions, plus invaluable lessons learned on and off the mat. So, if you're ready to unlock the secrets to success in every aspect of your life, let's do this. Live from the Great 1-8, this is Beyond the Mat, where warriors are made and legacies are forged. Here's Mark Cox.
All right. Good evening. Danielle's already on, saying hello.
What is up, Daniela? And what's up, Mark? This is awesome being on this finally, man. It's been a while since.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do this. I think we met when we were doing a book launch. I think you doing your book launch at the same time, and we met each other in the bathroom at the airport.
I forgot all about that. You're so right.
You walked in and I'm washing my hands. You're like, "Are you Mark Cox?" And I go, "I am." So we got to officially meet in the bathroom of the airport.
Yeah, man. Shook hands, didn't even wash hands or anything.
That's right. You know, that just proves that COVID was a fake.
Right.
All right. Well, with no further ado, I got to have Ben on. I've been wanting to do this podcast for a long time. So with no further ado, look at there's Daniela. Hello, Ben John.
Always good to see
Daniela's
Daniela's energy.
Yes. She's actually my, when I go to events, she's actually my event wife. I told Emilio that I said, I certainly appreciate you let me have her when we do all this stuff. She reminds me of when to come down. She reminds me if I want some coffee. She says, "Hey, we're going to do this." And, you know what I mean? So Emilio puts his wife on loan for me when I'm out there. Emilio's listening on too. It's good. It's good to have you guys. So with no further ado, Ben, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are, and then we'll get rock and rolling.
Yeah. So my name is Ben, and I'm the owner of Precision Patio Covers and Massive Impact. And, you know, I could talk about all my accomplishments and all that, but that's not my thing, man. If you want to ask me about some stuff like that, I'll definitely, you can obviously see one of my books right here. Just published another one with a bunch of co-authors. So I do a little bit of writing, do some public speaking. That's actually how I met Mark. And what I'm doing these days, what I'm really focused on is kind of exposing and shedding light on the unethical ways that business is being taught. And so I have a feeling we're going to be talking about some of that.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that. But I think it's important that we talk about your book in the background back there and kind of where your background comes from. I think sometimes your background makes you want to expose people even more, knowing where you came from. People may not know your backstory. I don't really hear you talk too much about it when you're going on your lives. And so why don't we talk about what your book is, and let's get that part of it in context, and then we'll get rocking and rolling.
Yeah. So the first book I wrote, The Misguided Mentor, pretty much talked about mentorship and kind of the mentorship I sought, the type of mentorship I gravitated towards after really not having a father figure in my life. Dad split when I was 3. And I really struggled to kind of get that father figure in my life. And so went to the streets and ended up in juvenile detention quite a bit at like the age of 10, and started from there, just getting involved with the wrong crowds. And then, I did straighten up, but that mentorship, not having the right mentorship did affect me going into business later on in life. And so that's primarily what the book is about, is me talking about, a good portion of my life and getting into business and going from being a carpenter. I built sunrooms, like Victorian style glass glazed sunrooms, for 12 years. for one company for 10 years and then kind of dabbled in it for a couple. I started my own business, my other business. And yeah, and so really what's funny though, I got to make this point. That book, when I wrote it, I didn't realize it at the time, but now looking back at it, I was a misguided mentor myself, writing that book still when I wrote it. And I talked about a big time self-proclaimed guru that I gravitated towards and got mentorship from for over 3.5 years in that book. And I was still under his mentorship when I wrote that book. So that's pretty much the context of the misguided mentor. And that kind of became a coined term that is mine. And I call myself the misguided mentor. And so it's one of those things that kind of became a part of me, man.
Yeah. I think that, I've got quite a few students that have a background like yourself that has overcome all that. And what an awesome human beings they become. It's either they stick in the same lifestyle or they adapt, overcome what's, and become something in society that helps change other people. All of them that have seen that have done that. So it's always, the stories are always good. They're always welcomed. I think everybody thinks that their problems are the worst. Then you hear some of these stories and you're like, wow, I kind of,
when you're going through it, it always feels like that, right? I got to say though, man, I am really happy that, I believe in timing. I'm a big believer in timing is always happening at the right time. Things come in your life at the right exact time when they're supposed to happen. And I'm so glad that we didn't do this podcast when I was still brainwashed and drinking the Kool-Aid of these self-serving entrepreneurs and getting the misguided mentorship from them. And now I'm just so clear-headed and just so in touch with knowing myself and my conscience and my intuition. And it's pure joy hopping on some of these interviews now because this is me and there's just no fluff, super transparent. And I really don't care, man.
Well, and if anybody follows your lives, it's funny. I say it all the time. Yeah, he really don't care. He ain't giving two shits right now. So let's talk about that. I'm listening to kind of your story and how you didn't have that mentor like you're growing up. Do you feel that not having that mentorship, it even led you to looking at more of these high-end gurus or what?
Yeah, 100%, man. And I guess I'll ask you this question. I should have asked you this. I know that we kind of rushed into this, but if I'm very free flowing. I don't mind talking about people by name and stuff like that. So if that's something that is going to get chopped out of this, I won't do that. But let me know if I should or should not do that. That way it doesn't mess with the authenticity of the podcast.
No, I don't think we need to subtract any names. I don't do that kind of editing. I just don't. I'm pretty raw as it is.
Good.
So,
good.
we got things to say, then, we'll talk about it. One of the things that I told you, I said, I've watched, that I know that Grant Cardone is one of the ones that you are with, and, you're talking about, and I know that we're going to have people listening to this that still go to his events and maybe they get stuff out of them. I'll tell you right now, Ben, the reason that it intrigued me is ever since I was a young man, like 18 years old, I'm 63 now. And when I was 18, I really wanted real estate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And back in those days, right out of the 70s, going into the 80s, you could really get real estate pretty easily. It was a time in real estate where it was easy to get, and you can get these different, different easier loans. You can state your income loans or whatever that was. And then there, of course, the crash happened in the late 80s, right? But I always wanted to do that. So I went to these things like you're talking about, these courses, $1,500 here, $1,000 here. And they were going to promise me the world, right? And I said, well, when I'm on there, they dangle carrots and never give you carrots. They dangle, but they never give you the key to unlock the door. So I never had a real coach. All I had is, hey, if you really want to know, you got to go to this level. That's where all the magic happens. Oh, you can come into business with us. So you spent thousands of dollars here, but if you spend $1,500, you can come in. We'll look for the property, and they'll take some of your money and use it for, whatever there is. I never got that far into it, and so
Yeah.
I can understand, where that, I have a sour note about a lot of that. Now, I'll tell you the guy that I really enjoyed. It's called the Maya. It happens. It happened every year in July. They would have a Maya show, which is the martial arts industry show, and they would
Right.
have special speakers. And they had Tony Robbins one time come out. I enjoyed him because he talked about martial arts, and you know how he is. He just gets everybody fired up, and he wasn't trying to sell nothing. He was just giving us some really positive ways to, approach, a way to look at things, stuff like that. And so I really enjoyed that particular year with him. I never spent thousands of dollars to go watch him outside of that. But let's talk about how you got into that and how much money you really spent there with people.
Yeah. So, and I think I'm. It sounded like you said I'm with Grant Cardone, so I just want to make sure people understand that I am not with Grant Cardone. That was who I was with for.
Yes, I misspoke. I apologize.
Yeah, I was with him for 3.5 years as a 10X business coach, which used to be called a Grant Cardone licensee. But I think it's important for me to talk about how I got involved with him, dude. I was driving. At that time, it was COVID going on. And I heard this guy talking on the 10X audio book that I was listening to, talking about things like you're operating at low levels. And I'm like thinking to myself, I am. He's saying you're not living your full potential. And I'm like, I'm not. You could be doing much more. And all this stuff was kind of just planting some seeds in my head. At that time, I was a huge go-getter. Like I was already on the trajectory that was my best year. And I was already doing well in my company. And so that's kind of what sucked me in, was good messages like that. 10X rule in itself is a good message. But I didn't really see at the time that it was kind of framed in such a way that he kind of made it seem like, I have the answers. Seek me, I'll show you the way. And the one thing I always talk about nowadays is that, I can tell the difference between a good leader and someone who just wants something from you. And one of the clear indications is that a good leader, in my opinion, will encourage you to think for yourself, and not have you chase them for the answers and the success and chase them for success in perpetuity, like you said. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's like. I found out real quick once I got involved in the first event and spent, I think that first event I spent about $40,000 to become a Grant Cardone licensee and a 10X business coach, and then a couple other things, business summit, this and that, and that's kind of where it started. And I kind of just became this person who ended up doing what everybody else does in that atmosphere, is idolize this guy and worship this guy, without even seeing like how I was being treated and how they were teaching me how to treat my customers and people in business. And so I quickly I lost myself, man. And I'm so confident I can talk about it now and talk about it, because that's what happened. Like I lost myself. I adopted his mindset and became a character, and really just was ignoring a ton of red flags throughout the years as well, that just struck me as very odd and borderline evil. And that's kind of what happened throughout the years. But, a lot of that, going back to what you said, saying, a lot of your students kind of had an upbringing like mine. I'm assuming you're talking about like lack of father.
Right.
Yeah. And so
mentorship, you know what I mean? Just, strong people in your life to help you navigate, what that's going to look like.
Which is one of the reasons why I gravitated towards them. He kind of became kind of like that for me.
So do you think that these questions I ask all the time, because a lot of times, they get you to try and get your friends to come with you, right? And then when you go to these events, it's party time. It's like get drunk and stupid at night, and then and sing the rah-rah stuff during the day. I mean, it really is kind of a social hour type thing. And then if you're not a VIP, whatever, all of that to me is just not real. I'm going to tell you something though, Ben. The martial arts is a lot like this. believe it or not.
How
And
so?
okay, so I'll tell you how, because this is one of those things that you're going to get a kick out of listening to. Because when I listen to you, when we came up in the ranks, you know, I remember coming up the ranks, you would do a test, and it was a grueling test too. And you would have a group of people grading you, all these black belts, never taught you a class in your life, don't know your backstory, don't really know anything about you, but you got to demonstrate yourself. And then they go back and they determine whether you test or retest. And so you go to the back room and they deliberate. And if you have enough people that say pass, you pass. If there's enough people that say, hey, you need to retest, you need to retest. And then it becomes a personality thing. And then it becomes this thing in the martial arts back in those days. Well, you pass and, and like, so just for me instance, right? I have a couple guys that always had their eyes out for me, but they couldn't handle me on the mat, right? They couldn't protect themselves from me. And so I would always get a retest from them. And then you have all the other guys. And I used to ask my instructor all the time, hey, next time he tests, let me get up on him. Let's push his boundary. Let's see what happens. And so this happens. But when you start going up the ranks, see, it was expected for you to start teaching class, not get paid, but to start teaching class, which I don't mind. I don't mind that. I think leadership and that kind of mentorship is something that you should do. Because it makes you a better practitioner. The more you teach, you retain 90% of what you teach. So I think it's really important. And I didn't mind giving that up. But when you become black belt, see, there really wasn't stuff for black belts. It was always this little magic stuff. This is what it's going to be. And I remember trying to break the mold, and I had an instructor that allowed me to do it. Mr. Chikawa, I'd like to go and take some more self-defense. I think we're weak in this area, and I'll bring back what I learned to our system. And he let me do it over and over. And we just kind of grew this system why he allowed me that. But I know a lot of schools, you're not allowed to go to another school. You're not allowed to talk to another school. You can't intermingle schools. You have no loyalty. So you end up sneaking, and then you lose loyalty, as opposed to me. I just brought it to him and said, hey, you know how much I love you, Mr. I, but let me go and do this, and I'll bring it back to our art. And that's what I did. And today, based on what I did, today I'm his highest ranking student, but his leadership allowed me to open. So in the martial arts world, this is the same kind of stuff. You can spend thousands of dollars learning this stuff. And then all of a sudden what happens is you are expected to teach. You're expected not to go anywhere else. You're expected to be loyal to your instructor, to a cause, almost to the point that if it interferes with your family, it doesn't matter. You still got to be here teaching. So yes, there's a correlation there back in the old days. And I remember trying to break out of that, because I was the same as you. I was a tyrant in my first few years as an instructor. I didn't have kids yet. And I come from a very hard background, and my personality, you guys kind of know my personality. I was a no nonsense type of dude and aggressive. And then I had to learn, and I had a mentor that taught me how to be a good coach, how to be a good instructor, how to let people flourish. And these guys don't do that you're talking about, because I see it.
Well,
and I see it all the time.
It's much more than that too, man. Yes, you're right, but it's more than that too. They do not do it. It's this whole do as I say, not as I do world that they've created. And I've pointed this out in several different things, not just with Grant, but because I got to point this out too. Like, it's easy for me to talk about this and shed some light on the deception and the manipulation and the harassing and the bullying and the interrogating and the stalking and all that stuff in sales and business, because I went through it. And then I was taught by the 10X community and Grant to do that to my customers. So I'm not just a spectator. I'm not a guy who just has an opinion about something. I've seen it. I've been in it. And so there's much more going on here. And there's that. And then there's them talking about, there's this whole thing where, like, to your point about teaching and expecting to teach when you hit a certain point, after you spend a bunch of money with that organization, they teach you to now go out and train and coach, no matter whether or not you've been successful or not. Now that there's this whole false narrative about how third-party validation all of a sudden raises your status and gives you credibility to everybody. That's taught by a lot of people in the industry too, and I imagine Tony Robbins too. I like Tony Robbins too for the most part. It was only recently until I seen him promoting Andy Elliott that I was like, man, I don't know why you're doing that, dude. He was making claims that Andy Elliott is not a slimy salesman, and on the contrary, in my opinion, he's a very much a bullier and a shameful guy. Or he puts shame on people. He makes fun of them, and even worse, turns it around and acts like he cares about them, which is a form of Stockholm syndrome, in my opinion. So it's just a dangerous thing, man. And I try to just simplify this for people. I'm like, it's an undeniable energy that you can feel from people like this in the self-development space. Do they care about you, or do they just want something from you? Do they feel like a giver, or do they feel like a taker? And if you are so in touch, if you know yourself and you're in touch with your conscience and your intuition, you can see right through that shit, man. And that's the type of stuff I really try to bring awareness to and encourage people to get in touch with, because Grant Cardone is a small itty bitty. I just made a post about this. He's a small piece of this giant machine that's been created in this underground self-development world that you and I have been a part of, and it's dangerous if you're not aware of it and you don't know yourself, more importantly.
Right. I think that these are some of the questions that I had for you. First of all, the amount of money that you spent, did you ever make it back coaching?
No, I made a couple $1,000s to the, and I've spent over a couple $100,000 just with his organization. I've made other investments too, like high ticket investments with other people like Brad Lee and some other people, but I didn't have that type of bad experience. And I never had a bad experience with Brad Lee. So that system, works well for me. He's never once upsold me in the 2.5 years, never once shot me an email to upsell for an offer. It is really no pressure with that organization. So yeah, a couple $100,000 spent, probably made $2,000.
Right. That's, and listen, I hear this all the time. The same thing in that real estate world I talked about. It's even my coaching when I coach people, had to open up a school and how to make money in the martial arts. And I coach them to do that. I'm very real and upfront, and I tell them everything. This is what you're going to run into. I'm telling you, I've done all of it. There's nothing I haven't done or haven't seen. I've done it all, and I can help you navigate stuff. And half the time I never charge for it anyway. Right. So, I helped a lot of people launch their schools, and I've been rewarded back, different ways. God's given me stuff that those people could never give me, based on my stewardship on what I did. What turned you, Ben? What was it that it just flipped? I remember when it flipped on a dime. You did a post and you're in the dump or something and you're throwing all this shit in the garden. And I was like, oh, this Ben's pissed off right now. What's up? He's going prison mode, man.
It's funny. I wasn't pissed though. It seemed like it was taken out of context. I was already going to the dump. I was throwing a bunch of my own stuff away. I was clearing out the garage, and it just so happened that was the moment when, I decided to wake up and leave. And that's when I was like, this is all going to the dump too. And so I was like, sweating. It was hot, and I decided to do a post. And I was out of breath. So it seemed like I was pissed.
I remember when so what made you change? What happened that you changed?
I love this question, man, because it was nothing this is such a fascinating thing, man. And, I got really scared because when this happened and what really was happening to my life in this moment,
Mike Faber says, yeah, you were, man.
Mike's always fucking with me, man.
You know what I'm talking about, because you never see Michael get mad. Shit.
That's funny. So yeah, and that's a funny thing. And a lot of people actually drew inspiration from that post. It's funny, man. Just organically, it got like 26,000 views. And I was like, oh, wow. People are interested in this. A lot of people thought it was clickbait. A lot of people thought it was a joke. April Fools.
Right. That's it. Well, it could have been, because I remember it's something that you always talked about. And I was like, man, he's really.
Oh, I was all about it. That's what I do, man. Much like yourself, I get that from you too. Like when you're committed to something, you go all in too, I imagine. And
Oh yeah.
I did the same thing, man. But to answer your question, it wasn't anything in the organization. There were so many red flags throughout the years that came up that I ignored. I had a spiritual moment. I've talked about this only recently because when this was happening, I was sharing it with everybody, and the responses I got were kind of, people didn't believe me. They thought I was on one, and quite frankly, I went from being a non-believer in God or our Creator, call him, her, whatever you want. I went from not believing to knowing 100% in like a 2-3 week period by the amount of things that were happening to me, just unbelievable experiences over and over and over. I've never had this feeling. I've never had those type of things happen to me in real life in the entire 40 years of my whole living, dude. So it completely changed my life. And one of those moments I talk about now is it was just a compelling feeling, one of many that I had that I listened to and I followed. And it was like someone was telling me to sit down and pay attention to all the red flags I have ignored over the years. And I did that. I sat down, and every single one of them, man, just like came back to me one after another. All these just real vivid, just messed up moments that I remember being a part of and seeing, and whether it was Grant Cardone doing something weird or something just very unethical happening. They all came back to me, and it was just like, holy shit, of course. Why did I ignore that? How did I? And it was literally, that's why it was so quick, because I had already had those type of, call them what you will, downloads, visions, and I was following them and listening to them, and something magical happened every time, man. And so this was no different. And I knew the next decision was to just talk about it. And the thought came to my mind, should I talk about it? Should I not? Should I just brush it under the rug and just move on, chalk it up as a loss? And the answer came quick. I was like, absolutely not, man. This is something dark that people need to know about. So that was the moment that really changed my life, to separate that industry from that industry, man.
Well, Danielle asks, how have your 10X friends responded to your view of Grant Cardone now? You have several people in your circle that are 10X followers. So how are they responding to you?
That's a good question. And I've been, I'm so transparent, and I'm sure you've noticed, I'll post conversations and invites to people. And I do that for a reason, because I want people to see the reactions and the type of brainwashing that's going on. But yeah, I had a lot of friends in there. I thought they were my friends, but none of them, okay, not gonna say none of them. There's a handful of really good friends that are still in the organization, but they don't drink the Kool-Aid like that. And most of them, what's even funnier is when that happened, I probably got on a call with 30 different 10X business coaches, and every single one of them agreed with me about what, even them shared some stories with me about stuff they've noticed and seen and thought was just wrong. But none of them did anything about it. All of them stayed in there. They're still promoting Grant. And, even now I'm trying to have conversations with people that are having wins and success with Grant, just to have a productive conversation, not a debate, like a productive conversation to hear and see, my viewpoint, their viewpoint, and juxtaposition it and let the audience discern from themselves. I've gotten 0 people take me up on that, man. And a lot of the responses I've got is that I'm a negative person. I don't get involved with negativity. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, 100% no negativity, brother. Like, if you look, I've had a couple good conversations with people about this. There's no disrespect. There's no immaturity. There's no negativity, man. And then I would get responses like people saying, yeah, you're just making me uncomfortable, man. I'm good. And it's just weird responses, or they ghost me.
I can see that, because I stay afar, I stay back. I'm that quiet guy in a large room. I don't say much, but I watch and see everything. It's
You're
probably
lurking.
I'm one of those introvert dudes that just, I'm pretty quiet until I'm not quiet, and then when I'm not quiet, it doesn't really go too well. And so, and I in our little industry that we have, right? There's a few people that I really kind of enjoy being around. I've known Jose Escobar for many, many years. I was one of his top 10 that signed up with him. And I just kind of, him and I've just known each other in the martial arts for a long time. And I like him. And he has a genuine concern to see people do well, which I
Yeah,
like.
absolutely.
I think that
And you can
Emilio is
feel
another
that.
one. I like hanging out with Emilio and Daniela. I like their little community. They have allowed me to have some space where I can work on, you know, well, actually, what they did is put me in front of the room a lot, and I lost a lot of competition, which just pisses me off, right? And so I'm like, and I said, so it pushed me to become a better speaker. And I
Yeah.
went looking for it. I went to some big events that have it. And the big events, I found out that little Toastmasters, this little $60 thing for 6 months, has really honed in some skills for me. And I'm with some people that have done some really good stuff. So then, Danielle and Emilio let me kind of feed that into their community, which I really like. I just like that little community. They helped me write my first book. I'm kind of a loyal guy. So I stick with people. I like Mike Faber a lot. I just like hanging out with him. I think he's funny. I think down deep, he has a real concern for those that are in his inner circle. He doesn't like them like I do, right? I have a very small inner circle, but if you mess with it, not going to have it. You know what I mean? I'm not. So this is what, even in these communities that I see around, I have to kind of pick and choose what I want to go to. Because I don't really know what are we looking for when we go to the events. What am I going to get out of here? So if you go to an event, right? Of course, anything. If you go to an event and you're looking for negativity, you're going to find it. If you go to the event looking for what little thing am I going to catch on here to make it better, then I'm going to find something. I found out something even at Jose's event. I had 7 people sign up to be on my podcast, and 6 of the 7 canceled.
Yeah.
After I did all the work to get them on.
Oh,
Hey, I need to reschedule, and I need to do. And I'm like, man, you have no respect for my time. That pisses me off. And Daniela, how can my event wife is always my favorite. What are you talking about?
They are great people. And by the way, they I feel like we're plugging Alma now, but they helped me with that.
Well,
that first book too, so.
Well, here, listen, they're the ones that I came in. Listen, I was very skeptical of them, just so you know. If you ever heard the story, you'll hear me talk about it. Because when I first met with Emilio, I'm like, man, is he a freaking car salesman or what? So I called up Jose and I said, yo, come on, give me some feedback on this guy. I said, my radar is up. I can't, and then when he gave me the all in, I was like, we were all in, and then I really enjoyed him. Yeah. Mike Faber and I, we did have fun at the event, but you didn't do jujitsu with me. You pussed out on it. I'm just going to tell you that. So that's,
since we're talking about Emilio, I think it's important to note that the way I met Emilio was actually, I was putting on a 10X business boot camp for Grant Cardone's organization, and Emilio was there, and that's how I met him. And, he has such a good heart. I felt that, and even though I was still brainwashed at that time, I could still sense other people with good hearts, and I just trusted him immediately. I think I spent like $7,000 or $10,000 with him that event to help me with this book published. So good people, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's really good. Well, let's talk about, because what caught me on your eye, and I'll tell you, was a look at Mike Faber talking shit.
I gotta ask you before I forget, Mark. When I seen you at the last event that we spoke at our good friend Jose Escobar's event, it was at Patrick Rude's event. Absolutely, love that guy. Patrick's such a solid friend too. But when I seen you, I think I misunderstood you, so I have to find out from you what your viewpoint is, or what your thoughts were, or if I heard you right, or whatever. But I briefly chatted with you. I think you were just sitting in the lobby area as I was going back and forth. And I thought you were giving me shit because I was calling these people out. And then I thought you said, if someone called me out, I would definitely step up and, whatever, beat the shit out of them or whatever. And I thought you were referring to, I thought you were
Okay.
talking about me because I called Grant Cardone and Wes Watson and Andy Ellie out to a boxing match. I thought that's what you were talking about.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, so I could see how that was taken. What I was saying was, why don't those guys step up and put their money where their mouth is? Because I can guarantee you, if you called me out to a match, I'd be, come to my gym. I'll pay the plane fare. We'll close the doors. No one even has to be here. And you and I are going to have a go. And absolutely would have happened. Where these guys don't do it, especially Elliot, who talks nothing but shit, I'm thinking, why don't you come on down? You know, yeah. I think that's what it was. And how do I feel about these guys? I can tell you a couple things. Do I feel that there's some people,
well, no
Mark
doubt.
said he would take you out.
Yeah, I think I've seen a clip where you were taking on 2 people on the intro here. I'm like, shit, man.
Yeah, back in the day, man, I was not, man. I'm an old man now, man. I try and stay out of that, even though I love it so much. But favor, he was chanting, "Bring it, Ben!" This freaking guy. He's stoking the fire. He's such a shit. But no, what I was asking you, what I thought is my question was going to be, first of all, what made you call him out to do something physical, and why are you stoking it? You know what I mean? Why is it? Because sometimes, right, you hear us a lot of things say, you want to put a knockout punch on somebody, do it with knockout success, but you're needling. And so I was saying, that was my question to you. Why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it? Right?
Yeah.
Why is it continue going? Is it A, they don't respond to you at all? Or B, they ghost you? And have they tried to do anything else? I mean, even her question here, right? Has Grant ever responded to any of your videos or reached out to you since you left his community?
No, not once. No. Not once has he ever. I don't even, as far as I know, I'm still an official 10X business coach. For all I know, they never responded to me politely and respectfully and professionally saying, look, I'm no longer in alignment with this. I don't want to do this. Cancel everything. And then furthermore, I'd love to have a conversation with Grant so he can tell me why he thinks it's okay to treat people the way he does and teach people the things that he does. I think that's the least you could do for me, considering I've spent almost $250,000 and donated thousands as well. And it was ghost town after that, man.
So, right. So that was my question, because I watch it quite often. And the reason I ask, there's a reason I ask things. It's not just because of fluff. I have somebody too that I had to kind of put on mute and things, because he was really coming after me. And this is an instructor of mine from Krav, and he was vicious on what he's saying online. And I don't like engaging stuff online. This is me personally, right? I think it's such a, I wrote to him. I said, you're welcome to, it's not like you don't know where I'm at. I'm very easy to find. A schedule, where my school is. You're more than welcome to walk in the door if you've got issues that you want to talk about, or what I'm doing, and I just feel that people that start getting success in something, or if they feel that they're getting threatened in their success, they want to come after you, and they do this online bullshit. And I just don't like it. Right. I feel like if I engage, it goes down a freaking rabbit hole. Right. And so I think that's why I was asking the question, why do you continue going down the rabbit hole? Have you helped other people? Do you go down the rabbit hole because you're the punching bag out there that's taking the shots when other people don't want to say stuff? Is that what it is?
It's a lot. It's all that. It's so would you believe me if I told you that God told me to do that? Everything I'm doing, God is guiding me. Would you believe me if I told you that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Some people find it really hard to grasp that. Like, really, he's telling you to call these guys out to a boxing match? Like, really, he's having you do this? Look, I'm not asking you to believe. I'm just telling you what my experience is, right? Like you guys can discern for yourself. My experience is my own. Like my relationship with God is my own. I can't really say how he operates with other people. So one of the callings and downloads I got was a very vivid one of David and Goliath, and me being put in that position of like, no one's talking about this. No one's talking about this, right? Like hardly ever. I didn't know anybody also dedicated channels to. I love that. Now I love that you said that, Michael, because some people might see what I'm doing and say I'm talking shit or that I'm aggressive or that I'm hateful. But if you pay real close attention to my energy and the words and everything I'm saying, I'm not. As a matter of fact, I always say, I think these people have a good heart deep down. I just think they're lost leaders. They've been taught the wrong thing. And then now they're just regurgitating and adopting someone else's mindset. And now they're teaching you the wrong things. But quite specifically, for the reason I called them out for the boxing match was, one, to show them what true confidence looks like. Two, I knew that they weren't going to respond to any of like my invites to conversations, which is really all I wanted. I just want a conversation. I don't want to go in the ring, dude. Like I will, and I'm confident. Like if Wes Watson took me up, you would see me in the ring boxing Wes Watson, and I would have no fear. I promise you. But one of the reasons was because
is it prison rules?
I mean, we ain't grabbing no one by the balls or anything. That's just wrong.
Well, I didn't say grab, but you certainly could kick him in the balls.
But really, what it was okay. They've refused my invite. They've ghosted me. There's only a couple things these guys value that's left. That's ego and masculinity. Let's try to take a stab at that and see if that draws them out of the shadows. And I stopped doing that. Like it's been months, and then it became funny. I started using, especially with Grant, I started using his own follow-up strategies to follow up with him on a boxing match. And anybody who knows Grant, it just became comical because I would use his exact strategies verbatim to follow up with him. It was quite funny at that point. But those are the reasons, man.
Well, I think that I think what you say there is interesting because I believe that you could get something from God, and God has given you that vision, because he gave me the exact opposite. He said, shut your mouth and work on your self-control. See, and I was like, and it is way out of my character to shut down and ignore, because it puts stress on my life. I'd rather open the door and say and expose you for what you are. I'd like to go down the rabbit hole, say all this kind of stuff, say for you to come to my school. And I was just told, nah, man, it's going to get you absolutely nowhere in this, because I've got a lot of people that own schools, and they went after some of my own students, right? And that's where, like, you start messing with my family, now you're pissing me off. Yeah. And kids I've known since they're little kids, that I've taught since they're 5 years old, grown men with their own families and kids. I just don't, I ain't part of that, man. I'm not. But I was told, hey, I have an issue with self-control. So I was told, nah, you're going to work it. Now I will say this, Ben, I've watched you every time. You aren't disrespectful. No. You're very matter of fact, but you're not like not open to have a conversation.
Oh, I know, right?
You know what I mean?
That's all I want is a productive convo so that people can see it publicly.
Right. And I think Daniela says this perfect right here too. You know, your videos isn't hate or anything. I don't think anybody feels that. You know what I mean?
No, it's only the people that want to put me in a box and don't want to step up and are lacking true confidence. They're like, it's easy for them to say, you're making me uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You're a hater. You're jealous. You're not successful. I've heard it all, man. Like you can try to make whatever up you want so that you never have to step up to your professed confidence in. And that's what I see, man. These people claim that they're confident in stuff, and they'll just come up with excuse after excuse after excuse. Now, I'm not saying you should take people up on every conversation, right? But for the most part, if someone invited me, and has some type of credibility, has been through some stuff, For the most part, I mean, I respond to everybody. I send a lot of people personal videos that I have never even met all the time. So I'm not hiding in the shadows. I want to jello wrestle. Oh God. I
Oh my
appreciate
gosh,
that too,
Faber.
Daniela, because yeah, a lot of people who, and especially that's the real thing that you'll know is like if you know me as a person, you just know I'm not that guy. I'm not hateful. I'm not any of those things they try to project onto me. And like I said, man, you can say what you want about me. My frequency, my consistency is going to outframe all that nonsense. It has. And oh, and to answer your question, Mark, has it helped anybody? Yes. Every single day, I get a new message from somebody. Every day, from somebody saying, thank you. I almost spent $20,000 with this person. I felt something, and then I seen your interview. And again, remember I said I believe in timing. My interviews are being placed in front of people at the exact right time too, and waking them up and shedding light on things. I've heard horror stories, man, of like Grant ripping out off people's, people reaching out to me and saying, Grant, screwed over my grandma for 100K, had her pull out a HELOC on her house, pull her 401K out and invested in real estate. I've heard so much stuff. I just got a message from someone who lives in one of his buildings, and they put her while she's taking care of a cancer patient in an uninhabitable space that has mold in it. And then they tried to buy her silence. They tried to pay her off to not talk about it. Like there's some real deep deception and manipulation going on here. And so all I do is talk about it. I'm bringing awareness to it. I'm not convincing anybody either. I want to talk about it, shed light. You discern for yourself.
So Faber asked, has anyone won with Grant Cardone? Do you know people that's done?
I'll never know. I'll never know. No one's ever taken me up on the invite. Like the guy that denied me was like, oh, all I ever see is you dogging on Grant Cardone. All I've ever had is wins. I'm like, that's perfect, man. Let me hear about some of these wins, dude. I'd love, not only would I like to hear it, everybody else would love to hear some of these wins. Maybe they don't want to just hear stuff about me, but it's all bullshit, dude. That's what I'm pointing out. A lot of these coaches, I don't know about other organizations, but I'm pretty sure it's the same way. I did a post recently talking about how I haven't been very successful in my coaching business, and I've been at this for 3.5 years. I am not making the money that I want. I started it because I was doing really well in my construction company. And so it created, I had constant cash flow, which gave me that freedom to start something else I was passionate in. And so now I reduced that company and went from 10 employees to like 2. And I don't do as much. And so I made that sacrifice. Therefore, I had to step back from it. But in doing that, I'm just trying to like make it real. Like there's a very small percentage of coaches and mentors that are actually making the money people are claiming that they are $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month. It's all bullshit. It's a dream that's being sold. I'm going to show you how to make $50,000 in a month. If you're not making $50,000 in a month, you're doing something wrong. Like this is all bullshit. It's glorified, man.
Yeah, I think too. I think the other one we talked about the other day was this Elliot. Faber's right too. I mean, most businesses fail, period, which is true.
Yeah.
Most martial arts businesses fail too. They fail within the first 2 years. How I've done it for 40 years, I don't know. It's God thing. Just and learning. I can tell you how I have succeeded. One is the right mentor and coach, but I'm coachable. That's the thing. Are you going to listen? Are you going to listen to somebody and do what they say? And are you coachable? And my mentor, the guy that taught me, didn't charge me a dime. I found him in a magazine.
Really?
And I said, hey, yeah. I said, I was reading it. I said, this guy, as a matter of fact, on Faber's thing, that's why I went early. I went to go teach at a school. And that's the only thing I can give back. I said, let me come in and work with all your instructors. Let me work my magic on what they can do and bring something to your school. And I went there to Memphis. And then I came to Faber's thing. I was there with him for 2-3 days teaching at a school to give back. And this guy I met in a martial arts magazine. I could tell he was a Christian, and I called him and I said, I'm struggling. I'm 6 months in and I'm going to close these doors if I don't get some help. And he told me, you figure a way out here. I'll put you up. I'll feed you. and I will teach you within a week on how to do it. And I went there and I absorbed everything. I had a crash course in business, but what I did is I went back on Monday and completely changed everything. That I didn't say, hey, we're going to implement this and we're going to kind of do that. I said, we're just scratch everything. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. And then boom, 70 students within 3 months came into my doors. And this guy never charged me a dime. And you know, how do you repair something like that? So, and then you got this Elliot. So we talked about him. I watch him online. He pisses me off so much.
You and many others, I bet.
And I'm just like, you're a freaking bully, bro. But what he does, 100%. He manipulates you. I'm not opposed to having some real talk put in your face. You know what I mean? I'm not opposed to somebody sitting across from me and say, hey, Mark, you got to get your shit together. You got, this is not helping you. Do you understand? But when you do it in front of the room, that is straight up being a bully. You know what I mean?
It's also the way it comes at him. Like if you're just like, you're fat or your bank account's low, like that's just shaming and just every aspect of him is not the way to uplift people in general, in my opinion. It's
right. So, you know, every time that this poor kid that he did this to, this is a young dude too. This isn't somebody my age. Somebody my age, tell him to go F off. I already know that. Okay. Somebody older like me, I'd be looking him dead in the eyes and say, you can go suck it, bro. Let's go to the room over here and let's get down. Let's see how your fit body goes. You know, I couldn't stand what he did. And watching him berate this kid for being fat. And I'm like, so you tell me that all the skinny guys in the room are just so awesome because they're skinny? Is that what you're saying? And I said, how much of that body you have is TRT? That's what I'd like to know. How much test you putting up in your body to make yourself look like that, bro? Okay. Because I'm an older guy. I know what it likes. And I lift a lot of weights. And I know how hard it is to put muscle on in your 60s without doing juice, you know, and because I've done them both. I've done juice and no juice. So that's one of those things that I don't know. I just had a hard time with. And for him to say that was, you know, it's heart-wrenching, man. I spend my time helping people build their self-esteem, get out of their own fears. And, you know, I was told forever that I'd never have a school and I would never be successful. You're not really built for karate. And I'm like, yeah, but I can kick you and you're 6'2" right square in the face. So I don't know what's up. And, you know, I broke stereotypes because I'm a big guy and I always been big. I played football, but I played competitive racquetball too when I was a young man. I loved it. You know, I played competitive racquetball and I did other stuff. I was just always a big athlete. You know what I mean? And I tell everybody, I'm a little bit fit, a little bit fat. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? And, you know, and so I saw this. And so I don't know, now you've called him out too. Have you had him come and say anything to you?
No. He was kind of like egging me on, just always like, you're doing great. Like, you know, thumbsing me up, or whoever's running his social media messenger. They would always just be doing that. And then they would just clap or something like that. But no, never got a conversation. It is just a matter of time until I actually see those guys. Cause again, you know, I got a partnership with Brad Lee, so it's a matter of time until I probably see them at an event there. Now, does that mean I'm gonna, you know, fucking, you know, it's not like I'm out here like, yeah, on site, dude, on site. No, that's not my approach. But I will, you know, confront the like, hey, you know, I've been trying to reach out to you for a productive conversation. I even called you out to a boxing match to try to get your attention. Never heard back from you, so I'm just wondering, is that something? You know, you're confident in, or you know, you don't want a conversation? Like, because to me, not responding or stepping up to that stuff, it shows the opposite. But no, nothing yet. What you were saying, man, about like them pulling people up, taking their shirts off, talking, you know, shaming them. The real bad part about that is, well, a couple of reasons. One, it's only temporary. That stuff only works temporary for people, and then they're back. Whether it's 2 years, 5 years, 5 months, they usually start back where they were going into that because they didn't do the internal work. They did not do the internal work. Sure, there might be an exception that works for some people. Some people maybe need talked to like that. But generally speaking, I just don't think so, man. And the real damage that's being done here is that he's teaching people to do that to their friends, customers, family. And it just keeps going in perpetuity, man. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it, is because I'm trying to stop that from, these people have a huge following. They're big influencers. And if people are, glorifying these people like gods, like they really are. I mean, I've seen it, man. I've been in the room. It's happening. It's dangerous because now they're modeling and mimicking somebody else, adopting a mindset that's not their own, and really not thinking for themselves, man. And I can see that. I can just see it so clearly now, just because of the experiences I've been through, man. It's quite a liberating and euphoric way of living, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, I think I see, when I watch him, I've seen him on other videos be very vulnerable, especially about his wife,
Yeah,
almost in tears, right?
I
I'm
haven't
like,
seen that.
there's video out of that, him talking on his show about how his wife has helped him, what it was, and how she, shapes, and you could see him be human for a second, where kind of a tear coming, talking about her. And I'm like, where is that humanity at whenever you talk to anybody, bro?
It's there. That's what I was saying. I think these guys have a good heart deep down. They've taken deception, man. My opinion is that they've taken the deception and temptation of money, ego, and sex, or one of a combination of all that. And once you do that, you get blinded to the truth. It's kind of the best way I can put it, man. And you keep going down that path. And it's the more you go down one of those paths, the harder it is to get out of it, man.
Yeah, it has to be. It definitely, and that's why one of those questions I had asked you, well, you misread, because I'm telling you, why don't any of these guys step up? I mean, that was my question. Why don't you?
Well,
put your money where your mouth is, bro.
Yeah, and
Okay?
I'm qualified. Again, I'm qualified. I've invested with big dogs. I've been in a lot of these. I've taken every single 10X course practically. Bradley's a partner with Wes Watson and Andy Elliott. So that, if you're all about third-party validation and credibility, then I would qualify for that. So at least for a conversation, what do you got to lose? So you're right. I wonder the same thing. I'm like, what's stopping you guys? I'm not just some, person who doesn't know what it's like to be in this arena. And like, I know what it's like. So I think that's the hesitation, is because, you know what, man, I think I'm not like, I think I really am so confident in myself, and I'm not like fluffing it, that actually is intimidating to somebody who's putting on, who's not truly confident. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I feel like they're almost terrified to have a conversation with me, because I'll see right through the bullshit. I'm so good at having a great conversation and articulating myself and pulling out stuff from people that I think they're scared of that. They're scared of their true self showing.
I think that's a strong possibility. I just think that, that was one of my questions to you, was why in the world do you keep on keeping on when, but now, now that I have the conversation with you, I kind of see where you're at. And if it's something that you feel strong about, or you're being led to do, then that's by all means. But I think that's the beauty of us as human beings, right? God knows what's right for each of us, right?
Oh yeah.
He knows that, you got to be careful stuff you pray for. You want to pray for patience or self-control. He's not going to just give it to you. He's going to put stuff in front of you that is going to test your resolve. And do you have it? And I know me, me having to put you on blast, or me having to, and I've never been one of those guys on, I've never been one of those guys that do a lot of even martial arts online, because I've got some friends, man, that just take hits after hit. I'm like, how the frick do you put yourself out there? I mean, the last time I did it, man, I had so many people talking smack. I'm like, 21360 Devonshire Street, corner of Canoga and Devonshire, Chatsworth, California. Bring your ass down here and you're going to talk shit, right? That's what I said. Bring it. Stop freaking keyboard warrior bullshit. Bring your ass to me and then say it to my face and let's have that conversation. And
Yeah.
and I'm going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. I said, I don't have.
Well, I don't do that. I don't.
Nah, you don't.
I don't take every like bait. You know what I mean? Like I know where to put my energy.
So you're better at that you're way better at that than I am. I'm just not good at it. I'm just like, I just want to like wrap my arms around your freaking neck. You know what I mean? And so,
well, don't get me wrong. I'm a human being, and I go through those moments too, where I, you know, that little bit. I mean, I grew up with anger, dude. I went through 2 years of anger management to get to this point. I was the kid that always got in a fight and also went to juvenile detention because I just could not regulate myself, man. I was just lashing out everywhere. But dude, to your point, like when you get loud about something that's the other people are so passionate about, you're going to get heat, man. I found this out pretty quick because I've never really gotten loud about anything in my life. This is the first time I've ever really stepped into this space because I was kind of silenced for 40 years. I became, again, a character and brainwashed in many different aspects. But I got to say, man, I don't know if you heard me talking about that download I got when I was at the last public speaking event with you, but the moment that did it for me was when I was just like in my closet. I don't know what I was doing in there. I was getting clothes or something, man, but I just had this feeling to let go. It felt like someone was literally telling me to let go. I can't describe it any other way. It was, and I'm not talking about just surface level let go. I've talked about this so many times because it was so vivid. It was let go of everything, let go of doubt, fear, wanting answers, wanting to understand, letting go of my own understanding, letting go of wanting to be right, wanting to be wrong. Dude, there was nothing left on the table when I felt that message, dude. And something just came over me so powerful, man, that it was so eye-awakening. It was just like epiphany after epiphany happening after that moment. And all the stuff I let go of, I started, like, some of the things I let go of, like wanting to understand, wanting answers, I started getting. Like, all this stuff came to me. Like, I started getting answers. I started getting opportunities. The right people were coming into my life. I mean, it's quite remarkable, dude, what was happening to me. But that was the first download I got. It was just such an intense feeling, man. It was literally like someone was having a conversation with me without me seeing them or hearing them. It was like a feeling, if that makes any sense. I don't know if have you ever been through something like that, man?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, I'm glad, because you know what I'm talking about then.
Yeah, for sure. I have I have the same kind of thought processes. Sometimes I hit it out of the park. Sometimes I don't. You know what I mean? And it's when those times that you don't listen. But you know, adversity is going to hit you every which way it can, and then how you react to the adversity is what will determine what happens. And if that's your calling, that's what it is. You know what I mean? And I think that, well, let's be, you know, fair. Michael Faber call you out too, man. He doesn't. He's not about this kind of. A lot of stuff. How about this? How about when somebody, I almost don't like to friend anybody anymore because it's some kind of bullshit that we're going to have a meeting and you're going to try and sell me on whatever it is you got going on. You don't really want to know me as a person. You want to get in my, I just like, I have to really kind of look at people now when they do. I just don't hit, okay, friend from now on. I look, okay, who's your friend? All right, I know them well. I shoot them a thing. Do you done business with them, or am I going to hear just nothing but, hey, we need to meet or whatever? And it's some kind of a sales thing. I just can't stand it. You know, I just can't stand not being real. I mean, can we just have a a time where we can get to know each other, and if there's something we can help each other with, great. Or, you know, maybe in we'll be talking about something and something will come up and go, man, I know somebody in that field, really good person. And then
Yeah.
that's what brings it, as opposed to, hey, you should buy this, or I should coach you more. Man, shut the frick up, bro. Okay.
No, it's
You know,
real.
if I was looking for it, I would ask. And then, I go looking and I pick and choose, even in my small circle of influence. I pick and choose what I'm going to go do now, instead of, because, things cost a lot of money. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, they
it's not
do.
like I just don't got money to throw away. I've got kids that are still kind of at home, adult children that are trying to get their life together. And I'm trying to use money to invest, can you believe that somebody like me that I didn't graduate college. I didn't graduate high school even. I took the GED out of high school. And then I went to some college and I couldn't stand it. So I've been working since I was 15, always had an entrepreneur side job. I was a machinist and a pool man, to have this little dream of having this martial arts school. And then all of a sudden, here I am. And then in my later years, I wish I would have done it even when I was younger, but now I have real estate of my own, doing Airbnbs to kind of create income so that you can retire and not just rely on Social Security. That is just bullshit,
Yeah.
And I'm one of those stories that, hey, man, I'm a real person. I had real struggles. I did a real divorce. I was a real single dad that raised my own children, 4 of them, and one that I adopted out that has a school in Idaho. And I put a lot of money out to my children to make sure that I could be a dad that was there. And if I can do that and be real, people will listen to me.
Yeah.
I don't care about drive up in your Lamborghini. I don't give 2 shits. Okay. I really don't care.
Either.
You know what I mean? I'm not, that flash doesn't impress me. What impressed me is Michael Faber in a suit. That does impress me.
Right. That was something, of a spectacle there.
Right. So anyway, I think we're hitting this hour and everybody else is starting to hop off. I'm glad we got this done earlier, because we had a lot more people, I think, hop on, because at 10 o'clock it would have been a lot less. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and end this, Ben, and I'm always up for some more talk. I'll watch watch what you're kind of going through and what you're talking about. And when I see things, I think even these little quick lives. Hey Ben, you up? You around? Let's talk about this. Here's what I saw. What do you think about that? Because I see it all the freaking time, man. And I get heated, man. You have no idea. I yell at my phone. I'm like, you say that shit to me, man. Just say it to me one time. I watched them berate somebody at where they're setting up for this convention. And the guy that works the convention, he's calling him, well, why aren't you happy? You don't even say hi. You walk by, you kind of look like you look a little sloppy. And this guy's looking at him like, you are a complete asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then in the same breath, he goes, I do this because I care about you. Now you don't, no, you don't. You don't care about people that you shame in public. You care about people that you try and talk to in private and say, I want to see you do well.
Absolutely.
So Danielle is going to jump off. Now we know we're late. Well, Emilio's got to get his milk and cookies, because he'll be up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. That's how he rolls. But
yeah, man, just the last couple, I guess, thoughts is, if I could leave anybody with anything, you talked about being afraid to jump on calls with people. It was really hard getting people on a call with me, because all I would do was try to sell them too. And there's this whole thing. Remember where I was saying people talk about do as I say, not as I do, or they don't even believe what they're saying. A lot of the stuff that gets preached from some of these guys is be authentic, build business with meaningful relationships. They don't believe that shit themselves, man. And you can find out really quick when you do hop on a call with them. I found this out pretty quick once I started stepping into this space. Any call I got on, I would immediately just tell them right from the gate, hey, just so you know, I'm not buying anything right now. You good with that? And just feeling their energy. I had this one guy just get really weird on me after that. He followed up with me for 2 years, finally gave him the time of day. And then next thing you know, I'm sitting there talking to him, asking him about his, like, I don't know anything about you, dude. And then he finally said, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to grow your business. And to me, that was a red flag. I was like, well, I mean, you can't help somebody unless you at least try to befriend them or know about them a little bit. Does that always need to be a friendship? It needs to be at least some type of meaningful relationship. Otherwise, it's just transactional, meaningless, in my opinion. And so that's what a lot of people are doing these days is they're really just focused on the money. And this is what they're being taught. It's no surprise to me. That's what I was doing for years because I was taught that. I thought that was the way to treat people because I was listening to a self-proclaimed billionaire. I mean, we don't even know how much money these people have, dude. Like
exactly.
It's all bullshit. So yeah, what I would just say is pay attention. If you like anything I said on this, pay attention to me because I have a higher purpose to serve other people. It's been working. And I have so many big things that it's going to take a second to actually be produced. But there's some big stuff coming down the pipe I can't even talk about right now. That's actually right. Going to be big, man.
We'll do that. We'll do that in the future for sure. We're looking forward to that. Well, I want to tell you, Ben, I've enjoyed this hour with you. I think that, you're a man on a mission. And I've got your back when you talk about things because I was waving. I remember asking a couple. I was like, why is he pushing that, man? Because Jose and a lot of these guys, they still enjoy all that, and I don't have a problem with you enjoying it. I'm not that fluff guy. I can't. First of all, I can't stand crowds anyway. Okay, I get all PTSD out anyway in crowds, and I don't go out drinking and partying like that either. So it's not my thing.
Yeah.
But I think that, you've got some cojones on you that you're out there doing what it is. But if that's God's calling on your life, you stay the course and he'll make it happen.
It's God's mission, man. But yeah. And again, you might not agree with everything. Like it's impossible to think that someone's going to agree with everything. Right. So, but it's okay. That's the big point, right? Like we can still have conversations. You can still be friends with people that don't agree with you. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I mean, if this world would just be that way now, it would be a lot better for sure. And I see that quite often. We'll talk next time because we don't see the same road on the vegan thing. I can tell you that for a fact. But one of my best students I have, man, he is a little wiry dude, man. He lost his brother. His brother was a cop. He was a hit and run and he killed his brother. But his name is Eric Nelson and he is a vegan athlete.
Oh, nice.
I'm always giving him shit. I said, you get big if you eat some meat, bro. But he's so strong. He's a strong little guy. And so we always kind of go back and forth about that, but we'll hit that health thing next. We'll talk about that. Cause that'd be a whole nother podcast to talk about. And, cause believe it or not, you wouldn't believe this, but I tried that, life, Mark Cox for president, Ben for VP. Gosh, can you imagine? I'd be telling people to F off every day. So I couldn't even imagine. But I look forward to that talk on the next go around, Ben. It was good to get to know you for the hour. Got your back. I think you got a lot of balls going out there doing what you're doing, and let's see where it takes you. Sound good?
Thanks, brother. Absolutely. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the next talk, and thanks to everybody who was listening.
All right, man. We'll see you.
You've been listening to Beyond the Mat. Our passion is martial arts, and that branches off to coaching, business, and health. So we think it's important to sit down with professionals, coaches, authors, entrepreneurs, anyone who's making waves beyond the confines of the dojo. Thanks for coming over. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit the website at markcox.com and hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Beyond the Mat Podcast. Find the